Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Meeple Inc., which is brought to you by Kaguya Ergo Meeple. It's for 1 to 6 players, ages 16 and up, and games generally run around 40 to 120 minutes. The year is 1976. The great Meeple human wars of the 1500s are a distant memory, and the two species have coexisted harmoniously for centuries. Human ingenuity, mixed with Meeple industriousness, has led to a new golden age of board gaming. In this brave new world of tabletop gaming, you and up to 5 others take on the roles of board game publishers, hoping to create the next best board game. Welcome to the world of Meeple Inc. As CEO of a board game production company, you will be assigning your workers to jobs across a fabulous board gaming factory, hiring specialists, crafting components, and manufacturing mechanisms, all in a bid to publish the most popular games, win tabletop awards, and of course gain victory points. Meeple Inc. offers a novel take on the worker placement mechanism where players are rewarded for paying attention to and predicting the actions of their opponents. On your turn, you will be placing your workers to specific jobs, hiring new specialist employees with unique powers, building board games from components, artworks, and mechanisms, and submitting your games for prestigious awards. The player with the most victory points at the end of the game is the winner. Meeple Inc. is a board game all about board games. So everything I'm going to be showing you in this video is going to be straight up the deluxe components, and they are so very cool. Now you have several different types of resources you're going to be tapping into. First, you have time tokens. Then we have research tokens, coins, playtest tokens, which are basically dice, and inspiration tokens. Those are your main resources, but you're going to be creating actual boxed components for board games. So what you're doing is you have bottoms for boxes, tops, all kinds of really neat covers for these board games, and then you have tokens that you'll be placing inside for components and mechanisms. And totaling all those up will get you victory points at the end of the game, but also you have an award card, and every player has a different award card for that particular game, and it'll show you when you create board games, you can place them in the award, this amazing stand-up shelving unit. You can place them here to get awards, which will give you even more victory points at the end of the game. So this is definitely an upgraded component for sure, and just a fun aspect. And everything about this game is very tactile. One of my favorite things, as you know, about games is the tactile experience, and just having this box and assembling the box and using it to get points is just so cool, with putting the mechanisms and everything together for the game. Now, for your player area, you have an easel that you'll put your card on for your corporation or your board game company. Now, you've also got a table where you'll be putting your experts around the table as they create these games, giving you bonuses and the ability to make bigger and better games. So you also have prediction cards and cards of the other corporations that are players at the table. Prediction cards are going to be fun because what you're going to be doing is predicting what the other players are going to perhaps do on their turn in order to get additional points. So that is an interesting aspect in a worker placement game for sure. You have those award cards and you have an objective cards, and you can get more objective cards through the course of the game, but you're trying to achieve the objective for end of game scoring, and if you do, you get the victory points on the right, and if you don't, you get negative victory points on the left. And then of course you have your 4 starting meeples, but you'll have the opportunity to get additional workers. Now, each of the corporations, companies are going to have a founder. And here in our example, we're going to be using the founder cards, but you could instead use the POW and WOW cards in order to have an enhanced gameplay with different types of specialists around your table. Now, the key thing to know about your founder card or the powwow cards or any specialists that you bring in to put around your board game table to create these board games is that there's a series of icons that are very, very important. First, we have box design icons. Then we got mechanism and component icons. And based on the number of those between all your specialists around the table will determine what level of board game you can create to get victory points at the end of the game. So between all your specialists and your founder, maybe you have box design icons that equal 4. So you'd grab the 4 level box when you take that worker action, put it on your table. And then through other actions, you're going to be getting mechanisms and components, but maybe you only have a level 2 for components. So you'd get a level 2 and put it in the box and so forth. So it's really that straightforward based on the number of the icons you have distributed among your specialists. So there's a multitude of ways to get victory points in this game. Obviously, by performing actions out on the factory floor, there are bonuses to be had in victory points, but there are others that are going to give you victory points at the end of the game, like for your objective cards or the awards that you've done for board games you've created or just board games that you've created in general. So lots of interesting ways to do that. Now, you have worker placement spots in the factory, and every one of these spots is going to give you bonuses, which is really quite cool. A lot of it is just getting bonuses in the way of resources, but some of the bonuses require that you pay a safety cost. So let's take a look at this one action here that is about publishing games. So this assumes that you have a box bottom, you've got mechanisms and component tokens inside the box, and you're ready to publish it by getting one of the box covers and placing it on top and putting it to the side. So that is what this action does. But the bonuses here, the first one is just going to give you an inspiration token. The second one will give you 2 victory points, but you're going to have to pay a safety cost of 2 time tokens in order to do that. But both of those spots is still going to publish the game for you. So there's lots of different ways that these bonuses can work based on the different actions you're performing and so forth. So again, you're going after resources, and you don't always need to pay resources to do various actions. But if someone has already taken that spot, then you have to consider if you want to pay the safety cost. So there's really just a ton of different actions available to you on this factory floor. Now, we're not going to do a deep dive into all the actions, but know that everything you're doing here is really in an effort to make the best board game. And obviously, you're going to be going after resources as one. You're going to be going after awards once you've created board games. And obviously, you're going to be creating those board games. So you're going after one of the boxes and putting it onto your board game table. Again, based on what level of specialists and founder you have will determine what level box you can get, as well as components and mechanisms. So you'll be getting those as well, paying their cost and putting them into the box. It is this neat assembly as you do so, putting all of that together and then finally publishing it like we talked about. So again, so many different things that are available to you, and there's some cards. Obviously, you're going to get additional specialists to help you make the best board game, or freelancers that will help you do the same. And the first card in those slots is always going to be free, but if you don't want that, then you got to pay a resource, any resource you want, on that card to get the next one and the next one. So it leaves resources for others to gain, but you might get that particular specialist that you need the most. Now, what's the main difference between specialists and freelancers? Well, freelancers are going to give you another worker placement spot. Put your worker there and you might just gain victory points. But the specialists, obviously you're trying to get the icons in order to create the board games. That's one of the main things. But they're going to have powers, and they give you an additional worker, which is awesome. So like this one here is going to allow you to pick a freelancer without paying any resources on any of them. You can pick whichever one you want. So they have all kinds of different powers and abilities, but they all relate to an action out on the board. Other cards you might acquire are your objective cards, giving you victory points into the game as long as you meet those objectives. There are item cards that you can put in your hand or just in your player area that you can tap into through the course of the game. As long as it's your turn, you can use those item cards to get resources or whatever is on that card. But the one I like the most is skill cards. So if you perform this action, you'll take a skill card and put it in your hand, and you'll have to pay the cost in order to use the card, but it will tuck under one of your specialists, so you have more icons that allow you to create the bigger and better board games. So the last 2 spots I want to talk about are pretty neat. So we've got awards and we've got upgrades. Upgrades are fantastic. Maybe you don't have enough specialists in order to put more than a level 2 component in your board game. But instead, you could use this upgrade action to upgrade that component level, again, giving you more victory points in the game. Or you can come and perform this award action. And again, what that does, it'll be based on your award card, which level of award you can get for that board game. And in this upgraded component, you will place that board game face up, basically facing forward in this shelving unit to show off the game and your particular board game that you've created. So that will give you all kinds of victory points in the game. They've got these upgraded tokens on top here, you can see, but you grab the token and you'll be scoring it at the end of the game. Now, there's an hourglass around the edge of the board, and it will be counting down to the end of the game, basically. And the way that works is that if you have meeples or workers out on the factory floor and you pull them back, for every one that you pull back on your turn, you'll move that hourglass ever closer to the 0 spot. And if you're the one that moves it to the 0 spot, you're gonna get 5 extra victory points, but that will bring on the end of the game. So the neat thing about that, though, is about pulling your workers back, is that you get to do a prediction. Very unique in this worker placement game is the fact that you get to pick another player or corporation at the table and choose cards from your hand to determine what you think they're going to do next on their turn. And that will stay in play until you take the action of pulling your meeples back again, and then you can make other predictions. If you fail to make the right predictions, there's no penalty, but you don't get the victory points. For every right prediction, you're going to get 2 victory points, and there's even bonuses out on the main board that will give you the ability to flip over a card even if your opponents haven't made that particular action on their turn. So you can get benefits that way as well, getting victory points. A lot of neat ways to get victory points, like I said. And in the end, you hope to be the player who has the most victory points. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now again, like I said, this is all the upgraded components, but wow, I mean, especially the board game boxes and all the different covers, and as you put them together, getting the tactile experience of assembling the board games, and this is just fantastic. All on your board game table. So cool. And I didn't even mention that when you place different types of specials around your board game table, there might be bonuses to be had when you place them as well. So lots of neat things about this game. Again, the component level is just so cool. I like how the assembly happens and how you put these things together. It truly is a board game about making board games. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.